Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to take your brows from this to this. So this is going to be a really easy brow tutorial. I've gone through a lot with my brows over the years, but lately I've been doing this and it's been really working for me, and I feel like my eyebrows look the same every single time I do them and they're super easy to do, so let's get into it. Now the first thing I like to focus on with my eyebrows is actually brow maintenance. I feel like a lot of people don't take that into account when doing their eyebrows. So the first step that I love to do is just get a little spoolie like this and brush through my brows. I have very long hairs and they get very unruly and tangled. So by doing this, you're able to easily untangle your eyebrows and set them kind of like into place. For me, I always like to make sure that the underneath of my eyebrow is clean and there's not any stray hairs there. So more often than not, I'll just go through my eyebrows and then tweeze hairs that I feel like aren't really necessary to be there. So it's mainly in this portion here, and also the tail. I like to take a little away from the tail. So right over here, there's a stray hair that I feel like doesn't really need to be there. So I'm just gonna get rid of that. Another place I like to focus on is the middle of my eyebrow. I have a lot of hairs here and my hairs grow really quick. So I have to be like on it with my eyebrow maintenance. And it's just like a little tweezing here and there, so it really doesn't take too long. And now the next thing is cutting my eyebrows. So I use these little scissors like this that are made for your eyebrows. And the main place I like to cut the hairs is the front of the brow. So as you can see, there are long hairs there that are sticking out from the brow line that I have. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the scissors and I'm just gonna cut ever so slightly the hairs. So that way the line is pretty even and there's no hairs poking past it. At the front portion of my eyebrows, the hairs just go straight up. They don't go like sideways into the actual brow. So if I let them grow too long, they look really funky. So I just like to give them a little bit of a trim every now and then. And the other place I like to trim is the tail of the brow here. The hairs get really long here, and once you're actually doing your eyebrow and carving them out, sometimes the hairs go past where you've drawn them. So if your hairs are too long, you can just give them a little bit of a trim. You can even do it after you've carved out your eyebrows and like actually filled them in. That way you know how far you're cutting, because I have done the mistake where I've cut too much of my eyebrow and then there's basically nothing there. I actually cut my eyebrow tails a couple days ago, so I don't really need to go ahead and do that. And now I'm going to give them one more brush, and now we're actually going to get into filling in our eyebrows. I feel like when doing your eyebrows, you need to take a step back and look in the mirror and think to yourself, how do I want my eyebrows to look? What image do I have in my mind that I want my eyebrows to match? The main thing that I like to focus on is filling in the whole brow. What I mean is I have a lot of sparse areas where the hair actually doesn't really grow. So I'm a little bald here and there. So I like to fill in those and also just get them really defined on my face. I mainly like to focus on this portion of my eyebrow here, as the hair's a little sparse there. And then throughout the brow, I'm sure you can see in places like this and this, there isn't much hair there. So I like to fill in that as well. And then for the tail, I like to really define it and kind of like elongate it just a little bit. So that's what I look for when filling in my eyebrows. When it comes to actually using product in your eyebrows, there's a lot of things you can use. I like a whole range of things depending on where I'm going, what I'm doing, what look I'm kind of going for. But I'll just run through some of the products that I have in my collection that I use. So starting out, we have a brow powder. Next, we have a brow pomade. Next, we have a brow pencil. This is actually a brow pen. And lastly, we have a tinted brow gel. For today, I'm going to use the brow powder. This is what I've been doing recently, and it creates a really nice and easy brow. Definitely beginner friendly. This is from CanMake, and this is the Mix Eyebrow. This is in the shade 6 Honey Brown. So essentially what this is, it's a brow powder. And now you might be saying, how would you use a brow powder? Well, I actually love the little tool that it comes with. I pretty much use the brush side here, tap into a little bit of the product and just swipe it on my brow. What I like to do is start with the darkest color here and just tap in with the brush. And I like to use this on the end of the brow. So this is the tail. From about here, I will just go ahead and fill in the product like that. This creates the shadow of an eyebrow. This is what I like to use as my base, and you can be pretty messy with this, so you don't have to be precise. Next, I go in with the middle color, and then I fill in the middle of my brow. And then I go in with the light color and fill in the front of my brow. You can go back into the colors and just add more if you feel like you need more. This is really light, so it's a really easy product to work with. You can add a lot or add a little bit, whatever your preference is. So here's a little before and after. I was pretty messy with it, as it doesn't really matter because we're gonna go in and clean it up. And then what I'm going to do is go in with a brow pencil. So this is from About Tone. This is the Standout Eyebrow Pencil in 2 Natural. I really love this color. I feel like it's super natural for the brows and you can't really mess it up in my opinion. I'm constantly going and making sure to brush my eyebrows in place so they kind of like hold their shape. Now I'm going to get this brow pencil, and as I said, the front of my brow, I don't really have a lot of hairs there. So I like to just flick the eyebrow pencil like this to create hair-like strokes. And then I like to go all throughout the brow and fill in those bold spots. And then I start working at the tail and elongating that. Always make sure to keep your spoolie on hand to brush your brows in place. So here's where we are so far with the eyebrow. This is the before and after. This one looks a lot more full, which I love personally. Now, as you can see, the brow is pretty messy. We cannot leave the house looking like this. So what I'm going to do is get a concealer. Any concealer will do to carve out my brows. This step is essentially going to be the eraser. We're going to get rid of all the stuff we don't want to see. So firstly, I get a flat paddle brush like this. This is what I use to carve out my brow with. And then I tap into a little bit of the product. I'm just going to start at the start of the brow and essentially draw a line following my natural brow shape. And then I like to go back in and slightly drag down the product like this to eventually blend it in. You can get a beauty blender or your fingernail and just make sure to blend in all that concealer just so it looks really seamless. And then what I like to do is focus on the top of the brow. So again, following the natural brow shape, I'm just going to start at the front of the brow and erase what I don't want. Just going to follow the natural brow shape. And now moving down to the tail, I like to curve the arch over here. And then see, as I'm going down, I'm getting rid of all that unwanted color that I put there. And then just go in with your finger and blend everything in. So then that is how the brow ends up looking. So this is a before and after. And now this is the part where I go in and think, have I made the eyebrow too thick, too thin? How's it looking? Let's take a look at the mirrors in front of me and seeing if I need to conceal some more or I need to add some more product. So far I can see that the underneath of my brow here towards the tail, I've added a little too much product there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make that a bit thinner. And then at the top of my brow here, the arch, I feel like it's a little too thick there. So again, I'm gonna make that just a little bit thinner. And then same as the tail too, just really gonna thin that out so it comes to a nice point. And then that's pretty much how the eyebrow ends up looking. What I like to do now is go in with the brow mascara. This is essentially just like a brow gel. You can use something that's clear or something like this that's tinted. This is from Romand and this is the Han All Brow Color in the shade 2 Mild Woody. It's colored, it slightly lightens your eyebrow, and I just feel like it gives the most seamless look to your brows. It doesn't do too much, but it also adds a little color there. I just feel like this is a really lovely step to add in your routine. And it also holds the brow in place, which is the most important thing. So as I said, I've got really unruly eyebrows, meaning that they move to the beat of their own drum. So something like this really helps to set them in place. So what I like to do is, I don't like to put any of this in the front of the brow here. I like to focus just about here and brush this throughout the brows. And remember to brush them in place because this will set them. So wherever you move them, they'll pretty much stay there. And now the eyebrows are pretty much done. This is again where I like to take a step back and look at the multiple mirrors in front of me and see, do I need to add anything more? Do I need to take away? Let's take a little look. So again, I feel like this portion here is just a little too thick there. So I'm just gonna erase that with the brush with some concealer on it. And then I'm also just going to go in with my brow pencil and fill in the underneath of the arch there, because I feel like it was coming to a point and it wasn't having that smooth transition into the tail that I normally like. And I'll pretty much leave the brows just like that. So let me just quickly do the other one off camera and then I'll come back with the final eyebrows. So that is pretty much the brows all done. I just went ahead and blended a little bit of concealer in the middle of my brow just with my finger, just to make sure everything's all blended in together. So this is pretty much how I do my brows. I feel like they're quite easy and you can be really messy with them. There's not really any technique with actually doing the brow. You just get the color on and then get your concealer and then pretty much just get rid of whatever you don't want. Hopefully you guys learned a thing or two. And if you want to see anything else from me, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.